My name is John Miller. I'm 40 years old. I have a wife, Emily, who's a decade younger than me. Emily is beautiful and gentle, and I'm really proud of her. We were on a hot spring holiday on that day, and we were so satisfied with enjoying a hot spring and delicious food. But then something happened. After finishing our meal at the hotel restaurant, we were heading back to our room.
Well, lady, you're a beauty.
A man approached Emily. He seemed to be in his mid-30s and looked formidable.
She is gorgeous.
She's totally my type, too.
There were two other guys who seemed to be friends with the first man. These two looked like they are in their mid-20s.
Oh, thank you.
Emily hesitantly responded to them. It was a safe response. Then,
Are you her husband?
the man talked to me. Yes, I am.
How interesting.
The first guy was staring at me. It was incredibly creepy. At that moment, he burst out laughing. And then he started laughing loudly.
No way, you're her husband.
I didn't get why they were laughing, but it soon became clear.
You're just an old guy. You don't match this beauty at all.
Totally, it's like a goddess with a regular Joe.
Toward that.
They were mocking that Emily and I were mismatched. Yes, I'm just an ordinary middle-aged man. And Emily is younger and beautiful. I know that we are not well matched, but I consider myself lucky to be married to her. However, their rudeness was too much.
Is it money? Did you marry her with your money?
Yeah, right, it must be the money. There is no way that she'd marry an old guy like you.
Otherwise, how could she end up with such a loser?
Please, don't be rude. I said that without thinking. Because I couldn't stand their attitude. I didn't buy her with my money. Emily and I married not because of money, but love. I meant it literally. We first met at the workplace and fell for each other. There was no ulterior motive. She chose to marry me even though there wasn't any apparent benefit in it for her. I felt like her feelings were being insulted, so I instinctively refuted. Just when I did so, the man's eyebrows twitched. He seemed a bit irritated.
Oh, really? So you love each other, huh?
And he stared at Emily. She looked uncomfortable. Then suddenly, he brightened up.
I get it now.
He exclaimed.
Your wife likes older guys, right?
It might be true that she has a preference for older men, considering the fact that she married me.
Well,
It wasn't clear if she was being honest or just playing along with the conversation. And
See, I knew it.
the man said cheerfully. And then he made an unbelievable statement.
All right. Your wife will have fun with us tonight. Old man, you better head back.
He said such a thing all of a sudden. What are you talking about?
We're saying she's spending the night in our room. You're no longer needed. You can go back to your room.
And he grabbed Emily's hand and tried to take her to his room. Stop it. Let go of her. I demanded, pulling her back to me. And I standed protectively in front of her, staring at them. Do you even realize what you're doing?
What? Of course, I do. I'm inviting her to our room.
That's not funny. You can't possibly think that's okay.
But it is okay.
Then he revealed something shocking.
Because we're mobsters.
I was stunned to learn their true identities. But it also made sense, given their brutish behavior.
Hey, let's go.
The mobster tried to grab Emily's hand again, but I caught it. And
Ouch.
I twisted his hand sharply. You see, I'm a former cop and even served in a special forces unit. I had to retire due to a severe leg injury sustained during intense training, but I'm not weak. However, my injured leg can't withstand strenuous activity. So, I worried a bit about fighting.
Hey, boss.
Two other mobsters started to approach. But
Yow.
I twisted the arm of the first man even harder. As I expected, they stopped in their tracks. What you guys are trying to do is a crime. If you don't stop, I'll call the cops. I shouted at them. Then they seemed to relent.
Okay, we get it. Sorry, just let go of me.
The mobster pleaded for mercy. Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. We were just a bit too drunk and got carried away. Sorry about that.
That's right. Our boss gets like this when he drinks. Please let go of his hand. I'm begging you.
The three men seemed genuinely remorseful. Meanwhile, people started to gather around. I worried that I might end up looking like the bad guy in this situation. So reluctantly, I let go of the mobster's hand. But the moment I did, things took a turn. As soon as his hand was free, the mobster spun around to face me. And
Idiot.
the mobster said as he punched me right in the face. Screams rose from the onlookers as I fell down the floor. My face hurted so badly.
John,
Emily cried out in concern. But the mobster wasn't done.
Hey, you're coming with us.
He snarled, grabbing Emily's hand.
Don't get cocky, old man.
Get lost.
As they said this, two other mobsters started kicking me repeatedly. I tried to protect my head with my arms.
Hey, what are you doing?
The innkeeper, having heard the commotion, and rushed over. But the mobster shouted loudly enough to echo through the inn.
I'm part of the Johnson gang. Anyone got a problem with that? Come at me. I'll take you all on.
With that one statement, everyone fell deathly silent. They seemed overwhelmed by the mobster's intimidating presence.
Listen up. I've memorized all your faces, guests. If anyone dares to call the police, the Johnson gang will come knocking at your door. Got it?
He threatened everyone in an experienced way.
Let's go.
He pulled Emily along. Wait. I lay on the floor, powerless. The only thing I could do was watching it helplessly. But then, something unbelievable happened, and everyone was staring at it. The mobster was suddenly flying in the air. He screamed as he hit the ground. This shocking sight left me, the other mobsters, the innkeeper, and all the onlookers speechless. It was Emily who had done it. When Emily was about to be forcibly taken by the mobster, she quickly grabbed his arm. Then, she spun around holding his hand, and she threw the mobster on the ground. Was that a shoulder throw? It was a perfect shoulder throw. But I had no idea how Emily could do something like that despite her gentleness. Then,
Hey, don't mess with me.
The mobster got up from the ground. He raised his fist and lunged at Emily. But she swiftly grabbed his hand and twisted it so that she immobilized him with a joint lock.
Let go.
He screamed in pain. Then Emily took an unexpected action.
Ah,
Emily then poked her fingers into the mobster's eyes. He fell to the ground, rolling in agony.
Hey, boss.
Lady, what are you doing?
Of course, the other two mobsters couldn't just stand by. They tried to beat Emily, but it was pointless, as one of them swung at her. She grabbed his arm, twisted it, and blinded him with a poke to the eyes. The other mobster hesitated, expecting an eye poke, but when he flinched, she hit him in the solar plexus. Then, as he was reeling in pain, she finishes him off with another eye poke.
My eyes.
Arg.
Both mobsters ripped on the ground in pain. It all happened in the blink of an eye. We were all stunned, watching the scene unfold. Then Emily turned to us.
Bring something to tie them up with.
We were snapping back to reality. We realized we needed to restrain the mobsters before they could start trouble again.
I'll bring duct tape.
The innkeeper, rushing off to fetch it. Emily, the innkeeper, and I then used duct tape to bind the mobster's arms and legs. We managed to restrain all three of them.
Wow.
The onlookers cheered and started applauding. I wanted to applaud Emily, too. But I had so many questions.
Please call the police.
Yes, I will.
After Emily instructed the innkeeper, I asked her a question. How could you do all that? As I spoke, Emily laughed with an air of embarrassment. Then she explained,
Actually, I've been learning Aikido from my grandfather since I was a child.
her grandfather, who had passed away before we got married, was an Aikido master and even ran a dojo. From a young age, she was rigorously trained by him daily.
Grandpa really loved me and wanted me to be able to defend myself. He was quite strict in his teachings.
She made a face like she had a bitter hangover as she said that. It must have been tough training. But as a result, she grew skilled enough to become a runner-up in a national Aikido tournament. She also learned judo techniques, striking and kicking. In other words, she had received special training in self-defense since she was a child.
This time, Grandpa's teachings really came in handy. He always said to aim for the eyes if facing multiple opponents.
The eyes. You did target them. But why the eyes?
Aiming for the eyes allows you to incapacitate your opponent quickly with a minimal effort, especially when there are several of them.
It made sense. And indeed, it worked just as her grandfather had said.
Well, I could have knocked them out too. But with people watching, I had to be careful not to go overboard with self-defense.
She muttered. That comment was a bit scary, to be honest. After hearing her explanation, I finally understood. But there was one more thing I was curious about. So, why did you never mention this before?
Huh?
I mean, it's totally fine, but you could have told me sooner, right? She looked embarrassed again.
Well, I thought it might be embarrassing to be strong, and I was worried you might not like it.
She was really cute when she said that. I wouldn't dislike you for that. It's totally fine. I said it with a laugh.
I thought so, but it's hard to tell this kind of thing.
It's okay, really.
Really?
Yes, really, of course.
I'm glad. Then next time, I'll tell you about the time I took down 5 delinquents.
I wasn't sure I wanted to hear that story, but I nodded anyway.
Damn, what the hell are you guys?
The mobster suddenly spoke up. The mobsters, their hands and feet tied, sat together on the floor.
You think you can get away with this?
That's right. Do you even know who we are?
We're part of the Johnson gang.
Johnson Gang, I don't really know them.
You don't know the Johnson gang. We're a mob with over 30 members, controlling this area.
There's no one around here who doesn't know the Johnson gang. Nobody dares to cross us.
Oh, despite being so weak.
Emily's tone was a bit provocative, perhaps emboldened by her recent actions.
Are you kidding me?
Of course we are. After all, you 3 men just got beaten by a single woman.
Shut up. If we weren't caught off guard.
That's what all defeated men say, right? If we weren't caught off guard. As if you could have won otherwise.
You're messing with us.
The mobster shouted, they squirming around helplessly, bound with duct tape like a caterpillar.
Damn it. We'll make you regret this.
The mobster's pride was evidently hurt as he continued to threaten us.
Exactly. We can't just let this go.
We'll show you how.
The other 2 chimed in. It's hard to take you seriously when you can't even move. Maybe it's time to stop bluffing. The mobster smirked and
This isn't bluffing.
replied in a low voice. What do you mean?
Our boss from the Johnson gang never forgives those who defy us. Once he finds out what you've done, he'll start retaliating. And by then, it'll be too late for regrets. Not just you, but your families will suffer our revenge. Ultimately, you're the ones who'll end up in hell.
They laughed menacingly together. It's typical mobster behavior. To retaliate to protect their reputation. They wanted to show what happens when someone crosses them, maintaining the gang's dignity.
What's wrong? Got scared all of a sudden?
The mobster taunted me when I fell silent. Then he made a suggestion.
If you finally realized what you've done, I have a proposition. Call the police now and say it was a mistake to report.
A mistake? I repeated in surprise.
Yes, a mistake. And then release us. If you do, we'll act like none of this ever happened. We'll forget it, and you should too. We all live happily ever after. How about it? It's a win-win, isn't it?
I wasn't sure if the mobster was telling the truth. But since they were mobsters, there was a real risk of retaliation. I fought for a moment, and then came up with a plan. I can't trust what you're saying. You're just trying to escape. The mobster smiled thinly and replied,
Do you want to arrest us and find out if we're lying? Though, if you do, it's the end for you.
The end, Ho. You keep saying that. But is the Johnson gang really as scary as you say? I challenged. The mobster's eyes narrowed.
What?
I've never even heard of the Johnson gang. A small-time gang of just 30 members is not a big deal. Sounds more like a bunch of small-time thugs trying to scrape by. As I said it with a lock, the mobster lost his temper.
Don't underestimate us. You're just ignorant of how terrifying the Johnson gang is.
All this talk of strength, yet here you are, unable to move because of duct tape.
What? This is...
Let me tell you why you're in this situation. It's because you're weak, all talk, and just a bunch of pathetic mobsters.
Who are you calling pathetic?
Pathetic, right? You three got completely defeated by a girl, and all you do is talk big. Look at yourselves objectively for a moment. You look like caterpillars squirming on the ground. Even the other guests must be thinking, those mobsters are all talk after all.
Don't joke around. The Johnson gang extorts money from all over the US. We're one of the top mob groups.
Extorting money? Like petty extortion?
No, it's sophisticated fraud.
Sophisticated fraud? Oh, like those scam calls? Is that what you are proud of?
Shut up. Having money means we have power. Even with few numbers, Johnson Transportation has a significant influence in the underworld. Not just fraud. We've sunk many who oppose the Johnson gang into the sea. And you'll face the same fate for doing this to us.
Hearing all this, I felt relieved. I could relax now. Then I told the mobsters a fact. So, apart from your past crimes, for the ongoing sophisticated fraud, a raid should quickly uncover evidence.
What? Raid? What are you talking about?
I used to be a cop and a member of a special forces unit. The mobster's eyes widened as I revealed the fact.
A cop?
Yes, and I know a lot of cops. I'll make sure to tell them everything you just said. Then the whole Johnson gang will be arrested. You won't be able to retaliate.
That's a lie.
I provoked the mobsters for this reason. Sure, mobster retaliation is scary. No matter how strong Emily is against a larger group, we'd be helpless. But if the gang is arrested and disbanded, they won't be able to retaliate. So I egged them on to confirm their criminal activities.
That's quite clever, a former cop.
Emily suddenly said, "It might have been the first time I showed such a police-like behavior." Thank you, thank you. I have to show myself in a good way sometimes.
You were quite cool, actually.
Really? Maybe I redeemed myself.
I never thought you were uncool in the first place.
Well, I did get pretty beaten up by these guys at first.
Not at all. You look like a hero protecting me.
Really?
Really. T was so heroic. That's why I just watched without doing anything.
What? You wanted to see me protecting you?
Yeah, though you couldn't quite pull it off.
True. We laughed together. But obviously, the mobsters weren't in the mood for laughter.
Hey, you two. Stop flirting.
Oh, sorry. Almost forgot about you. Forgot? We've been talking this whole time. How could you forget? My bad.
So, is it true that you used to be a cop?
Yeah, it's true.
Then, we really are.
That's right. It's not us who are finished. It's you guys. The mobster's face fell into despair. That makes sense. Because they had just confessed to their crimes.
Oh, boss, this is bad.
If the head leader finds out we spilled about the gang's crimes, he'll do something to us.
They finally realized the dire situation they were in. The mobster then turned to us with a forced smile.
But,
What about it?
about what I said earlier.
A joke?
Well, it was all a joke. I mean, us being mobsters, being part of the Johnson gang, doing sophisticated fraud. It was all a joke. We just said it to save ourselves.
Do you really think I would believe that?
Right, that makes sense.
The mobster realized he couldn't fool us and started whispering with his companions.
What do we do?
If pretending it was a lie won't work, maybe we should just apologize.
Yeah, maybe they'll forgive us.
Right.
They concluded their conversation and, still bound, managed to kneel in a formal apology. And
We sincerely apologize for the trouble we've caused.
Sorry.
We're truly sorry.
they apologized sincerely.
Well, quick to change your tune.
Do you really think apologizing now will get you off the hook?
Well, we were just a bit drunk from the hot springs and got carried away.
I feel like I've heard that excuse before.
We really are sorry. We promise not to do anything like this again. Please forgive us.
I took a deep sigh. They were only thinking about themselves. Listen,
What?
do you really think after all you've done, you can be forgiven just like that?
But if we stay like this, it's bad for us. Right?
It's bad for us if we get arrested and the boss finds out.
Think of it as a favor. Please forgive us.
If the gang's activities are exposed, the boss will be arrested too. Then you'll be safe.
That's true, but still, nobody wants to get arrested. Right?
Don't joke around. I shouted, infuriated. The mobsters flinched. You guys just harassed random people, never considering their feelings, just pushing your desires onto them. This time, my wife happened to be strong enough to stop you. But what if she wasn't? What then? What you did is absolutely inexcusable. And this isn't the first time you've done something like this, right? People like you belong behind bars. The Johnson gang's activities can't be overlooked either. Everything you're facing now is your own doing. Understand? The three mobsters slumped in defeat, realizing they had no way out. Then, we heard the sound of sirens in the distance. The police that the innkeeper had called were finally arriving.
This is the end for us.
One of the mobsters muttered dejectedly. The police arrived and took our statements. The three mobsters were taken into custody, and Emily and I went to the police station to give a full account. I revealed my identity and explained everything that had happened, including the activities of the Johnson gang. And finally, after a long day, it was over. A few months later, on a day off, Emily and I were enjoying a quiet day at home. The mobsters had been arrested for assaulting me, and it turned out the police had already been aware of the Johnson gang. A raid was conducted on their office not long after, resulting in the arrest of the boss and all members for their involvement in sophisticated fraud. Investigations into their other crimes were still ongoing.
Hey, do you want to hear some good news?
Emily suddenly asked as we lounged on the sofa. What is it?
Actually,
She shared something that took me by surprise. Really? Are you serious?
yes. Congratulations, you're going to be a dad.
The good news from Emily was that we were expecting a baby. Despite the significant age difference and opposition from various people when we married, we overcame it all to fulfill this dream. I'm truly happy to have married you. I hugged her. I guess there will be tough and challenging times in our lives, but I will protect Emily and our child with everything I have.